Hello and welcome to the Nonprofit Thrivability Podcast. Today I am talking to Jesse Coleman, the General Manager of WSLR in Fogartyville. I am your host, Reed Corley, podcast producer and consultant with the Patterson Foundation. In this episode, we dive into Fueling Dynamic Fundraising and Margin and Mission Ignition, two initiatives that WSLR in Fogartyville is involved with the Patterson Foundation. So without further ado, please welcome Jesse Coleman. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for joining us here today. We recently at TPF, we attended Fogartyville for our immersion, so we got to meet you in person, experience your space. So thank you so much for hosting us.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun.
Yeah, so just start us off. What is WSLR in Fogartyville?
So we are a center for creative expression and community engagement that amplifies the voices of our diverse community here in Sarasota, and we promote peace, sustainability, democracy, and economic and social justice. So we've got a big mission there, but we do that primarily through our work as a community radio station with all volunteer-driven programming. We have our performance venue and community space Fogartyville, which has about 102 seats inside, and then the amazing People's Patio outside. And we also do some great news programming with WSLR News. And we have a journalism internship, and we try and get citizens involved in everyday life of local politics and grassroots activism.
Yeah, well, I mean, the space was amazing, having the garage doors open and having the outside air and the patio and being inside, and the performance from the West Coast Black Theater Troupe, I think, was amazing. So
they are so good.
Yeah. And it's funny, coming back from lunch, I was like, oh, I'm a little tired, we need some energy. And then it was like, what a perfect way to start off post lunch. So, but we are here today to talk about Fueling Dynamic Fundraising. Right. So when did you attend the Fueling Dynamic Fundraising class? What was your experience with it? If you want to just give like a little overview of your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I started and kind of took on my role as general manager about 2 years ago. Prior to that, our founders were getting ready to exit the organization. They were generous enough to stay on with me for an extra year to kind of get me prepared to take over for WSLR in Fogartyville. And through that process, we saw the opening for Fueling Dynamic Fundraising and said, you know what, this is the first time that I've been in a nonprofit world before, and I wanted to be able to gain that knowledge in order to take the organization to the next level. And boy, I am so grateful for what the Patterson Foundation has put forward for us, because I don't know how I would have done it without it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I mean, to go in a little bit deeper, like what were some of the main things that you took away that you came in feeling a little bit unsure about this new position, and then it feels like you felt a little bit more confident about the fundraising aspect leaving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first off, I want to just say the instructors that we had during Fueling Dynamic Fundraising were just phenomenal. We really dug into a lot of different aspects that is required for a fundraising plan. And that was really important for me coming in as a new leader in the space, to really understand the nuts and bolts of what it takes to, make sure that we understand our range of donors, to really understand the stewardship process, to make sure that we have a strategy in place and are able to communicate our case for support to those donors and connect in a way that emotionally gets them really interested in the organization and willing to put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, and really kind of stand up for the things that they believe in their community.
So from what I understand, there's like three main topics that the course covered. That's donor stewardship, which you just mentioned, case for support, and annual fund planning and implementation. Mm-hmm. What do you think made the largest immediate impact for you out of those three subjects?
I think it was probably the planning was like really important to begin with, because, I came in, with a kind of a model that we had been using, as a nonprofit radio station. There's the pledge drives. Everybody's heard them if you're listening to an NPR station or like that, something like that. And I got to experience a few of those before going through the course. So I kind of knew how that works. But as far as like engaging donors in a deeper level, being able to kind of expand and have a plan in place, that was pivotal to make us successful in the future. And I think all of those pieces that we were able to kind of put together through the training program, it just really kind of clicked while that structure was in place. I can't say any of it wasn't worthwhile, because being able to really understand how to break down and communicate to our donors the impact that we make also huge. And then how do we keep going and connecting and making sure that they still feel as part of the organization through the stewardship? It's all so important. It's a puzzle piece, right? Every piece matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the things you're talking about, it seems like this is super important and powerful, but I think some listeners might be thinking it feels like a lot of work as well. So how did you go from like taking these two from ideas to actually implementing it? Did you guys do any work in the workshop itself? Did you take some home and have to go from there? Like, what was the actual impletation process?
Oh my gosh. Every part of that, it was a pretty intensive process. We had a number of classes that we all sat in, great connecting with other nonprofits in the area too, just to be able to kind of bat ideas off of each other. I remember we had an exercise where we were actually doing an ask. We were coming to a major donor and talking about kind of the plans that we have in place. It wasn't, obviously not a real donor. It was our colleagues on the the other nonprofits, but it was just great to kind of have that actual, act it out and have that kind of experience. There was a lot that we did get done work within those sessions, but also obviously it's kind of a starting point. You want to be able to go in, take the ideas that you gain from that, refine them over time, and it was like really, really beneficial.
Yeah, so it's funny because TPF has 5 C's. They are caring, connecting, collaborating, contributing, and creating. And you just touched on collaborating a little bit there. So do you mind digging in a little bit more? How did you like the group dynamic of Fueling Dynamic Fundraising? What value did it bring to you to be able to be working with your peers in that way?
It was really important to be able to connect with others around you, because I think you don't really get a good feel of any piece of information until you're able to put it in action, and having people around you who are all trying to gain that same type of knowledge, to be able to connect with each other, to be able to share ideas. It's huge. It's really transformational when you're able to kind of have a little cohort, a group of people that's able to do it together and feel kind of bonded after that whole experience.
I was going to say, so, we say one of the 5 C's is not competing.
Right.
So was that kind of put up front in this course? Like, we're all here, we're kind of have the same donor base in terms of location, but the different interests. So how was that balanced during the actual Fueling Dynamic Fundraising?
Well, I think there was a lot of different ways that we were able to kind of connect with different aspects. We all are in this kind of philanthropic pool here in Sarasota, but on top of that, there's so many little niches, and there's so many areas that you specialize in, and the ways that you're kind of able to connect with other organizational leaders and kind of find out, what is your niche? Where do I fit in against this? How can we support each other? I think that was a big win as far as, being able to connect with those different people.
And so what was something that you took from Fueling Dynamic Fundraising that you wanted to implement right away? And what was something that you intentionally saved for later?
What we did, I think, right off the bat was kind of clarify our case for support, because as an organization that does a lot of different things, sometimes it can be hard to kind of consolidate it into one specific message. And we realized that maybe that is the problem. Like, maybe we need to have different messages for different people that we're talking to, and kind of working with Sarah Leonard and some of the deeper work that we did within Case for Support was really important for us to kind of clarify those specific messages tailored to different audiences within our greater audience, as it were.
And then, so what was something that you saved for later, or maybe took a little bit longer to really dig into?
Oh, I think some of those strategic aspects that take a lot of data, looking into the CRM, being able to do those stratified levels of donor bases, and thinking about how are we going to plan to get these people to the next level. Like, those are all little aspects that, it takes some work, but it's really interesting to kind of, at least for me, to think about how to take it to the next level.
Let's take a step back a little bit. You said your founders were stepping away from the organization, from taking an active role, and you were stepping into the general manager position. So what was that? It sounds like it was a planned leadership transition. What was that like? And then did that happen and then you took Fueling Dynamic Fundraising, or were they at the same time? How did that all go?
It was kind of at the same time. So I would say it was about probably 6 months prior to my full leadership transition that I started with the Fueling Dynamic Fundraising course. At that time, I was kind of gathering what information I could from the founders. We were kind of moving me, because I originally started as the station manager. So really kind of overseeing the programming and coordinating the volunteers who do on-air programming, into moving into more of the administrative side of things and trying to understand all the different aspects of revenue and expenses that I was going to be dealing with. And this was just the perfect timing to kind of bring that into the mix, because I was able to add so much value to what I was able to offer, because there was a lot of new stuff that even my organization at that point wasn't implementing yet. So just the fact that we were able to kind of take that information right off of what the Patterson Foundation was giving us and implement it immediately was huge.
And I have heard only positive things since you took over. So congratulations, good job, keep going. Speaking of, some positive wins, like what would you say is your biggest win so far post Fueling Dynamic Fundraising?
Oh man, I mean, this is really a kind of a course that's about dollars and cents, right? But when we think about it as a nonprofit, like we have a mission, and our mission is important for the people that we serve, the communities we serve. And, because of the money we have been able to raise as a result of Fueling Dynamic Fundraising, we've been able to add so many extra concerts on. We've been adding staff on to be able to facilitate the programming that we do on the radio and amplify our journalism. We just got to hire on our first full-time reporter. So we're going to be doing more of our mission-centric work because of what Patterson and Fueling Dynamic Fundraising has been able to help us build in ourselves.
Wow. I mean, that's really cool to see the evolution, which is also a catalyst for good from TPF. We're never stagnant. We're always evolving. And talking about evolving here, Fueling Dynamic Fundraising talks about a culture of philanthropy. You just mentioned you're bringing new people on, you have your volunteers. So how are you creating a culture of philanthropy at WSLR in Fogartyville?
Well, I think it starts with making sure everyone understands that we are all part of this together. I mean, on our organization, we kind of make sure, you're coming into this because you love this work already. You love the mission of the organization. So we have 100% board giving. We have 100% staff giving. And those parts of that are pivotal, because I don't know if a donor is going to want to give to an organization that doesn't believe in itself. So those are huge parts that I'm really proud of, that we have this bought in staff, crew, volunteers, everybody's involved. So, I mean, that's a huge part of it.
I mean, 100% staff giving, that's impressive. I mean, you're hiring people that are in this, they are in it. Absolutely.
And it's, I mean, everyone is so dedicated and committed to our organization that works for us. And I mean, on top of that, we have members of the community who just give their time multiple hours a month towards the mission of WSLR in Fogartyville out of the goodness of their hearts, and are also members and donors. And it's just crazy that this inspires so much passion for folks. And it's an honor to be in the seat that I'm in, being able to help facilitate the work that we're doing.
It is really cool when you start to quantify the volunteer hours, the community aspect of it, how much one organization can really do and how much those volunteers really do help over the course of a year or however long they end up volunteering for. Coming back to Fueling Dynamic Fundraising and the fundraising practices themselves, what would you say that you really have a handle on, and what's something that you're still working to get better at?
I think the big picture is very clear to me now, understanding kind of the aspects of the strategy that we need to put together, the way in which we need to kind of put the building blocks in place in order to get to the next level makes a lot of sense to me. I think having the people to do all of those really effectively has been a challenge. We want to do good stewardship, but as we're all juggling a lot of balls at the same time, how do we make sure that those handwritten thank you cards get out? And a lot of that now is working together as a team, bringing volunteers into the mix, kind of creating processes and things in place that make sure that we are touching base with all of the people who are involved within this organization. One of the things that's been really great, we have a really committed volunteer. His name's Ish, and he comes in and he's answering phones for us. He's a character, but what he does now is he will look through our donor base, our members as we call them, and he'll give just a little phone call, checking in, hey, making sure we got the right email address, making sure we got the right phone number, and thanks for your support. And just a quick touch. Those are the things that I think we are trying to move towards, making sure that everyone feels connected with a member of the organization.
Mm-hmm. I mean, again, talking about volunteers and the value they bring, like how great is it to just get a phone call? Like, we're not asking you for money. We just want to thank you for being a donor, being a member.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's huge. It makes a big difference because it's not always just trying to shake people's pockets out. That's not what it's about. Yeah. It's about really kind of connecting, especially for us as an organization that's built on community, is connecting with the community members.
And was that emphasized in the donor stewardship section of the Fueling Dynamic Fundraising course?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, there's just so much great information that you can pull from these courses, from the lessons that all of the great teachers at the Patterson Foundation really bring to light for folks. And I want to say that it's just the stewardship aspects were huge. I can't even say more than that. It's just those pieces make such a difference. Simple as that.
I want to transition us to margin and mission ignition here for a little bit, because you are also a part of that. So for those who are watching, what is margin and mission ignition? What is your guys' social enterprise venture?
Sure, thanks. So when we started working with our friends at No Margin and No Mission, Larry and Mike, we got to come through a number of these labinars, they call them, where they kind of really break down the program. And what it all is all about is building an earned income model for your organization that can help sustain your mission work through building revenue out of sources that are in earned. They're earned. As simple as that. And so ours is really, we had this kind of great venue itself that we do a lot of our own concert programming. We do film screenings. We do art exhibits and drink and draw nights and all sorts of fun stuff. But we have so much time on our schedule that the area lays dormant. It's in the daytime, the lights are off, the air conditioning's off. We could utilize all of that time to build revenue for the organization and to allow more organizations to utilize the space and to grow what we're doing on the mission side and supplement it with some of that income. So ours is trying to rent the space to cultural organizations, nonprofits, artists to use for workshops, for concerts themselves, for different creative aspects, and allow them to take Fogartyville and make it their own for the day.
Yeah, I mean, and we got to experience that for about 8 hours a couple Fridays ago. And what a great location. I think it'd be perfect for any cultural organization who wants to put on a concert or just anything going on. I think that it's a great place for it, indoor, outdoor capacity. So, so how did the fundraising go for the startup funds for this? I know that's an aspect of margin and mission ignition.
Oh my gosh, it was really a really interesting process. And what was so great about it is, I don't know if you guys have this in mind at the Patterson Foundation, but you keep it kind of secret because you're like, we're putting all these kind of aspects of building a business plan in place. And then we're going to have you raise funds towards that business plan. And as we're doing that, we're actually teaching you how to make a capital campaign. And we're putting all these little pieces of the puzzle in place. And so it was great. One of the key things is, like, at the end of your business planning, you put together a fast pitch presentation, which we call a kindler, gentler Shark Tank at the Patterson Foundation. And it's really fun. We bring in some of our larger donors, people who have contributed over time, and maybe some new people. And we had a pitch. We did a 10-minute presentation on what our business plan was, and we gave them an ask. We wanted to see if they would invest in the earned income venture that we had put together, and we were able to fund it really pretty quick with some excellent support as well from the Patterson Foundation. So that's great.
And was that pitch made at Fogartyville? Were you guys on stage?
So we tried to make it a nice event. We had a local musician, Corley, kind of playing some Spanish guitar as donors came in and started chatting with each other. We had the lights all set. We had the mood right. And then we explained, this is what we're trying to do to really amplify our mission in the community.
Wow. And so now post fast pitch, so what are some early wins you've had in terms of the social enterprise venture?
We just about a month ago hired our full-time events manager to kind of be out there in the community, connecting with folks, marketing the space and booking. And it's been amazing. We just had 3 new bookings this week. We're already cooking. Things are moving and jiving along.
We're booking and cooking.
That's right. And things are really going well because not only are we able to now expand, our income, but we're also doing things that are mission aligned. So that's another great aspect is alongside just bringing in a little extra change for what we want to do. We're also helping other nonprofits and organizations that need a space to fulfill their mission.
Absolutely. And that's maybe more important than bringing in additional revenue to maintain the mission, not allowing mission creep. So how was there... That has to be a conscious thought, right? Yeah. To continue to align with the mission, even though we're pursuing this revenue model. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, we had been kind of pulling rental revenue a little bit here and a little there. It was word of mouth. People wanted to use the space for a workshop, or they wanted to have a fundraiser or party. Just little things, a little event, and it was never like an intentional effort on our part. It was just kind of, okay, we'll make it work. But being able to kind of strategize on how we could turn this into an actual enterprise was key. It really made a big difference because we thought about how are we going to go out and market this? How are we going to have a sales plan that really achieves what we want to achieve? What kind of personnel and capacity do we need to build? And how can we make the best offering for the clients that we're going to bring in? As we want to make it as great as possible to come and have your event at Fogartyville. So all of those things have been really great about to strengthen the capacity of the organization in general and be able to have a really, really strong offering for folks who are coming through.
I mean, it's just so cool how the Fueling Dynamic Fundraising and Mission Ignition relate to each other. They build on top of each other, and you guys have been such a good steward of both of those initiatives. So, thank you very much for doing a great job on that.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, I couldn't be more grateful for the partnership with the Patterson Foundation and all of the great programs that you all put together, because it really seriously helps new nonprofit leaders. I'm sure experienced nonprofit leaders pull so much from it as well. I mean, I couldn't be more grateful to have had those types of lessons really early on in this organization.
Absolutely. So kind of winding things down here, what are some of the keys for the continued success and thrivability of WSLR in Fogartyville?
Well, what's so great about Margin and Mission Ignition is I get Larry, my consultant, for 3 years now. So we're checking in, a couple of times a month and making sure everything's cooking, and like we said, cooking and booking. But at the same time, it's kind of going back and analyzing, how can we adjust this? What kind of steps do we need to make? And we can do that for a little bit of time here and still have that kind of feedback loop, being able to make adjustments, and the fun's not over.
And so, speaking of feedback loops for MMI, what about for the Fueling Dynamic Fundraising side? What have you learned from your experience fundraising now that you've kind of changed, maybe modified?
Oh my gosh, it's just been such a great experience, because even the little things like having the practice asks, it makes things so clear when you go in front of that donor and you're able to make it with confidence and you're able to talk and speak directly to the mission. It's just a huge game changer on the just day-to-day operations that, as an executive director or a person in development within an organization, that you're going to need. Those are the tools that you need to be able to say, hey, I'm going to make the ask, and then I'm going to take a pause, and let's hear what they have to say. And it's just those little things, those little techniques that make a big difference.
Yeah. And so, at TPF, we love to share our cookies, little pieces of knowledge that we pick up throughout initiatives or life or whatever. So what is a cookie from your jar that you'd like to share with the audience?
Let's see. Well, I think that my cookie in my jar that I want to share has to do with our mission as an organization. And I would say, use your voice, connect with others within the community, and share the information that you have and that you've learned through your experience. I mean, that's why I wanted to come here today and talk about what I've been able to do with all the work that you guys have put in. And I think the more that I can do that, the more that all of our community can connect, share, and send their perspectives out there to the world, I think the better it's going to be.
Absolutely. So, winding down here, final question. Any last thoughts? And then how can people learn more about WSLR in Fogartyville?
Oh, man, you got to come to a show at Fogartyville. You got to come see one of our great regional, national, international acts that we come in. It's very off the beaten path. Sometimes people can't even find us because we're back behind a little ways. So you got to come see it. You got to tune your radio dial to 96.5 and hear the local voices in your community. And you got to go to WSLR.org and check us all out.
Awesome. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah. Thanks, Reed. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Thrivability Podcast. For more information, please visit thepattersonfoundation.org.